went to a 2-day workshop that was being held. Basically, it was a 2-day sales seminar trying to sell her really large package. And it was filled with some really great information. But where we parted ways, and she knew this was a sticking point, was when she spoke about emotions and that you can make decisions, you can create goals that are devoid of emotion. If someone says to you, your goals should be made without any emotion, or when you're mindful, your emotions aren't at play, or your decisions can be made without emotion. I'm going to give you 3 compelling reasons why that's not true. And that's what we're talking about today. So stay tuned and you will learn the 3 things that I have to share that will convince you your emotions are involved in every mindful activity, in every decision, and in every thought.
This is Flavors of Emotions, expanding your emotional palette for a tastier life. My name is Kim Korte. Together, we explore how to make sense of our feelings through the lens of a chef, understanding flavors and a recipe. I am here to help you refine your emotional palette to differentiate the emotions that shape your world.
I just want to say quickly, I know I took a little bit longer break between podcasts again because I got sick again, but this time even more wickedly sick. I mean, it was bad. It was so bad. I couldn't breathe. My lung felt like it was completely shut down and it was scary. I've never thought I could die. And I did because I was like, I'm not getting enough oxygen. I almost had my husband take me to the ER. So this is the first time I am able to talk and not be coughing every other word. And that's how bad it was. And that wouldn't make for a good podcast. So let's get back to the subject of the podcast. And we're going to talk about 3 things that I'm going to share with you as to why, not only that emotions are a part of our decision making, but that they should be a part of our decision making. The first is Antonio Damasio's research. Antonio Damasio is a very, very well-known neuroscientist. He did a lot of research into the world of decision making. And he argues that emotions are not just irrational impulses, but they are essential for rational decision making. And they help us to prioritize our options by attaching a feeling to potential outcomes, which then guides our choices. And what does that do? It helps us to not have to go through an exhaustive analysis of every single possibility. He wrote a book called Descartes' Error, Emotion, Reason, and the Human Brain. That book challenges that traditional view that reason and emotion are separate. This is why he is known for this famous statement that we are not thinking machines that feel, rather we are feeling machines that think. Additionally, he emphasized that emotions are integral to rational thinking rather than being opposing forces. Now, I know there are some of you out there, like my older brother, who will tell me I've made a decision and there was no emotion in it. But, Damasio would tell you differently. In fact, it's that emotion that is communication. If you've listened to any of my podcasts or you've read my book, then you know that it really is how the brain talks to us. It is a single sensory system that goes throughout our entire body. We feel emotions throughout us. Like, it's not just our heart that feels emotion. We feel it everywhere. We can feel our whole body go hot in response to a situation, to being mad. You just feel this warmth come over you. That's That's emotion. Emotion is the signal, the chemical signal, and the feeling is what the body produces. And our ability to connect to the feeling is what helps us to improve our communication with the brain. Basically, it's a communication tool, like I was just saying. So Antonio Damasio reinforced this by saying that we are feeling machines that think. And it's that feedback loop of our emotions that drives us where we're going to go. Are we going to go towards something that we're fearful of, or that we are feeling super comfortable about? You've got a challenge ahead of you, like you're making goals. Are you going to make a goal that's super hard to get to, so much so like that you can't do it? That feeling is telling you, I am super afraid of that goal, so much so I don't think I'll do it. So you don't do it. That's the feeling talking. And then if it was super easy, you might not want to do that either. But something that's a little bit challenging. And guess what's telling you if it's challenging or not? Your body through emotions. Even if you said you applied 1000% logic and you went through all of these logical scenarios, guess what? You're going to pick the one that feels correct. Your body's telling you, take this decision, use this one. That's how it works. A point that was brought out in this workshop on the weekend that I share too, and I talk about it in my book, is that we're getting all these bits of information, and our brain has way more information in it than we can cognitively process. So sometimes our body just speaks to us with no logic, just this strong gut feeling, this is what I need to do. And we're all aware of that. So my first point is Antonio Damasio, the most famous researcher that I know of around decision making, says emotions are not only a part of it, but an integral part of good decision making. Rational thinking and emotions are not opponents, they're friends. Remember that the next time you think you're being all rational. Your emotions are a friend. So this brings me to 2 and 3, which kind of really work together. So I'm going to just go from 2, what makes up a thought, and then we'll go into the third point pretty quickly after that. So let's just talk about that. What makes up a thought? You can only think about things that you know, not things you don't know. So as you learn something, that gives you the ability to get more thoughts. Or if you use your imagination, it can also produce more thoughts, but your imagination still is building upon things that you already know. Now, you might be able to create something new with this, but it's still an amalgamation of what you know. Now, someone else may have come up with something different and created something from their thoughts that they share with you, and now you get a new thought because of what they're sharing. And this is how we learn. This is how we learn about each other. This is how we learn about the world. And really, learning is memory. It is memories of everything that we have experienced up until now. And like I said, we can use our imagination to create different thoughts and different ideas, but they're usually building upon what we know. That's my point. Now, that takes us to what is a memory. So if we're using our memories or what we know to create our thoughts, what then is a memory? Well, a memory is the same thing. Your experiences. It's what happened when you were a baby and you learned what red is, and you learned how to walk, and you learned what soft was, and you learned what all of these different sensations in the world, all of this sensory input that comes in from this outside world, and we associate it with a feeling, how it feels to us. Most people feel a soft cat and like it. It's very pleasant. Something that's a little rough and kind of scruffy might not be as pleasant. It's kind of like the difference between my two dogs. I love them both dearly. One has got this silky, soft fur, and then my little Finnegan, he's scruffy. So we learn that difference in how we feel about it. In any situation, when we create a memory, even if it's like I say, a creme brulee memory, meaning it's pretty bland, it's sort of neutral. We don't feel strongly one way or the other, and we might, given pressure, go one way or the other. If we're sincerely asked, like, tell me really, how do you feel, you probably would go in one direction or the other. And so with every memory, we have the feeling around it. And why is that? Because our memories are a conglomeration of all of the sensory input that we have going on at the time. And it is used to form future thoughts and feelings and decisions, behaviors, actions. I'm going to tell you a story, and oh my God, my niece is going to kill me. But when she was potty training, this is almost 40 years ago, she's 42 now, my brother and his then wife taught my niece how to use the toilet. She was potty trained using Tidy Bowl. Yeah, Tidy Bowl, the stuff that turned the water really dark blue, or real vibrant blue actually. And they had that in their toilet, and she would get excited when she made the water turn green. Of course, the yellow from the urine, the blue, it turned green. And she thought that that was the best. And she would be sitting on the toilet and she'd call out to me, "Look, Auntie, I made the water green." And we'd be like, "Yeah, Amber, oh, that's awesome. You're so great." And, that was a fabulous experience for her. So for shits and giggles, I thought to myself, I wonder what her favorite colors are today. She doesn't know what I'm doing, what I'm talking about right now. I just texted her and said, "Hey, what are your favorite colors?" We were talking about other stuff because I couldn't just come out with what are your favorite colors. So I just said, "Oh, how's this going? And what are your favorite colors?" And she said, "Well, it's hard for me to choose between the two, but blue and green." And I was just like, oh my God, could it be? Could it be that her experience with blue and green was so great as a toddler during potty training that she still loves these two colors? I did not say a thing. And then she went on to say that she loves lots of colors, but it's a toss-up between blue and green. And I thought that was hilarious because almost 40 years later, or probably is 40 years later, she still loves blue and green. And she was so excited for turning the blue water green. So I'm just saying, can I definitively say it goes back to her potty training experience? But I'm telling you, these things live with us. And even when we don't know it, those feelings can stick with us and they're used. And maybe today, and I'm guessing pretty strongly, she still loves the blue and green because it was such a positive experience for her. That time period still lives inside of her. Just because it's not something that she recalls readily today, if prompted, she would, potentially. She was young, but the memory is still there in her body. And so it influences, and it influences you. So this goes back to my point, is that as much as you think that your thoughts of what you want, what you don't want, you're logically choosing, underlying it because of all of the memories that are used to create your thoughts, your decisions. Embedded in those memories were how you felt. And how you felt is helping to drive your decision today. I would never tell you that they're not logical decisions, but they're still underlying inside of that decision is a feeling, is an emotion that you had at some point in your life. So let me know if you find some flaws in my thought process here. I'd love to hear it. I'm excited about what I share because emotions can be so scary. But if you're ignoring a critical component of what makes up pretty much everything you think, say, do, that's a little scary, right? That's like not paying attention to the engine of your car. Yeah, you've got horns, you've got tires, and you've got all these other things, but the engine that's driving you, it appears to be emotions. And it makes sense because we are primarily feeling beings. And it's those feelings that tell us which way to go. And I hope your feelings right now are telling you to stick with me and to be a part of my future podcasts, meaning that you listen to them, you like them, you share them, and potentially connect with me. I had these grand plans of having a workshop, and then life got in the way, and definitely illness got in the way. So I promise it's coming soon. If you connect with me on my website, I'll let you know when they're happening. It's going to be a part of a community site that I'm working on. I just hope that whatever I say that connects with you and resonates with you is a force for something positive in your life. I can't think of anything better. Thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you next time on Flavors of Emotions. Until then, have a great one.